Perhaps no skill is more needed in our contemporary climate of political divisiveness than this skill. The third is the blues. The blues could be another 2-hour speech. The blues is a 12-bar form like the 12 months of the year. The 3 basic chords of Western music. The shuffle of a waltz and a march sounding together. It's derived from the African 6/8 mother clave that rules grooves all over the world. The blues is a major and minor sound at the same time. The blues is the pentatonic scale of Eastern music. And the blues is also a form that leaves more room for response than call. What more do you want than that? It's also a form whose conclusion is always, everything gonna be all right this morning. Everything gonna be all right. You can't want more than that. We need to know it the way an Austrian knows the waltz or an Italian knows opera. We need to know it better than anyone else in the world. I would suggest a deeper focus and institutional insistence on listening skills. Videos and gadgets aside, listening is not a visual skill set. It requires concentration and development of attention span. Listening also cultivates memory. The oral tradition is an important part of contemporary musicianship. You're going to play music. The greatest gift can be to learn how to listen and how to hear. Because listening teaches good manners, and most importantly, it shines a light on the centrality of nuance and inflection in great music making. You hit all the notes, but I didn't feel anything. It's what's under those notes, because it's always deeper. It's always much deeper than notes. The oral tradition in our music became even more significant in the 20th century with the advent and dissemination of recordings. I don't want y'all to run to transcriptions, because the notes are only the face of the story. For the juice, you have to put your ear on the music. Trust in hearing, and your hearing will develop. There's no science in the world greater than the ability to hear. There's no amount of theory, no number of scales, no sophisticated sense of the theory of harmony that will supplant the ability to hear. I would also like to suggest the teaching of national identity through music. The fundamentals of our musical approach were put together at all kinds of different times in our history. Our students should know from playing the triadic grandeur of an Anglo-American hymn like Come Thou Almighty King. They should know from playing early American fiddle tunes like Old Joe Clark and Boil 'em Cabbage Down. From playing the sound and feeling of American Negro spirituals like Go Down Moses. They should be knowledgeable of the virtuosity and the range of the American band tradition. From cornet soloists and band leaders like Francis Johnson and later Patrick Gilmore. Even later, the great John Philip Sousa and his phenomenal band that took Europe on tour after tour between 1900 and 1910. Philip Sousa also played minstrel songs and ragtime, which Scott Joplin had unleashed to teach the country how to dance and be itself. And around that same time, Buddy Bolden and Jelly Roll Martin were down there in New Orleans creating something that would again show the country who it was by transforming those same Sousa marches in ragtime with Jelly Roll's King Porter Stomp and Bolden's brand of group improvised music that syncopated Sousa's march rhythms into the New Orleans parade rhythm with the unruly sound of a lot of people singing through horns, doing their own thing, but still being together like democracy herself. It was a style forever known as jazz, and it was about communication and love and defeat and victory, and it was much deeper than notes. It was much deeper than notes. And here comes old Jimmie Rodgers with his yodeling, and Louis Armstrong, And Louis Armstrong and Jimmie Rodgers recorded together. And here was Armstrong in the tradition of the great cornet soloists, like Herbert L. Clark, who had played with Sousa. And Louis Armstrong was showing us how to be accurate and improvise, while Gershwin is bringing the jazz and popular song traditions to the band tradition with Rhapsody in Blue. And Duke Ellington, at the same time, was transforming New Orleans music by bringing it to the sound of high society with pieces like Old Man Blues and Black and Tan Fantasy. And here comes Basie and them out of the Southwest, teaching us how to swing. And Benny Goodman had left Chicago for New York, educating the country on the radio. Now they're all out there swinging and burning up roads, showing the entire country what our identity sounds like when it is expressed in music. And back in those days, everybody could dance. Everybody. And it was the music that taught them. And let me tell you that when a room of dancers caught fire the same time as a band, and they started to compete with each other to see who could outgroove whom, it was far deeper than notes. And here comes the war. And then inexplicably, something that had an impact on all of us in this room that we don't know about a lot of times. The Musicians Union calls a strike and turns the public against musicians. Never has a non-essential industry during a time of great national sacrifice committed as egregious an act of arrogance and stupidity. Since that time, singers and entertainers have ruled the earth and sent musicians down the slow road to replacement parts. It's time to reclaim our rightful place. It's time to ask for some respect for people playing.